So both these players will be 2-0.
Yep, we're going to see a couple of good ones too. Shawn Tabrizi is very good at Magic, so I'm a level 2 judge. I judge a lot of PBTQs. He's constantly top 8ing these things. He's constantly doing well. Even at Legacy, Modern, and Standard, he is a Magic player. No professional results yet, but he's had a couple of deep runs at GPs. Dave Johnson, he's a local player. He's pretty good at Magic. I've never seen him screw up very bad, and I love his deck box.
Yeah, I really like. Yeah, exactly. It's very very nifty metal. I wish it had smoke come out of it and hydraulics to lift the deck out of it. That's all it really needs.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really cool list. I know Dave Johnson personally. He's a local teacher in the area. Real good player.
Look at that deck box.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Be jealous.
Yeah.
That thing is like solid aluminum.
Yeah, it's great. He is very good though. I think the last 2 Modern 1Ks we've had over at Card Kingdom, he is top 8 both of them, and he went to the finals in another. And that was both with Black Green Infect. So he's very good at what he does. But yeah, he's more of a local player.
I played Dave a handful of times. I've never seen him make egregious errors.
No, yeah. He's very clean when he plays.
So while he's not nearly as devoted to Magic as Shawn is, I think that this is going to be a good match. I think both players are going to play really well. And he definitely knows Infect.
Definitely. Yeah, he loves his Infect decks. Again, he was on Black-Green for the longest time, and eventually he begrudgingly made the switch over to Blue-Green just for its consistency.
So I actually really like Dredge in this matchup for 2 reasons. One, the card Dark Blast is very hard to beat.
Yeah.
It is an answer for every threat that Dave is going to present. Now, Shawn might have Dark Blast in his sideboard and not his main deck, but we'll find out.
Definitely.
The other thing is Nature's Claims. Nature's Claims are actually very good because they not only hit Grafdigger's Cages and post-board games, but they're not a dead draw because a third of Dave's threats are Inkmoth decks.
Yeah,
he has 4 Inkmoths, 4 Blighted Agents, 4 Glistener Elves, so a full third of his threat base are artifacts.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I think Dave Johnson, if I remember, he might have changed his list over the last couple of weeks, but I believe he's also running a little heavier on Blossoming Defense than a lot of normal lists. So we'll see if that comes into play as well. Again, Blossoming Defense is a new card. It's kind of like an upgrade to Ranger's Guile. Gives +2/+2 instead of +1/+1, and the hexproof is very relevant. It also cannot be redirected by Spellskite, which is kind of relevant in some matchups. Not this one, but others.
They took a mulligan, and it looks decent. I saw a Hierarch, an Elf, and 2 lands.
Yeah, it looks like a Dryad Arbor as well, so it's
gross.
A landish creature. Not exactly the matchup you want it for. You don't necessarily need it in your opening hand. I also like the Dredge deck in this matchup because it usually kills in the same clock as Infect.
Yeah.
So winning the die roll really matters in this matchup, but yeah. It kills on the same turn, and then it can also have answers to what your opponent's doing. And Infect doesn't have a lot of answers to what Dredge is doing without countering its own game plan.
These are 2 ships passing in the night.
Yep.
With flashes of interaction.
Yeah.
We might see excuse me. We might see some sideboard cards out of both these guys. We're very likely going to see 3 Grafdigger's Cages out of Dave Johnson if he's playing a stock list. And Shawn is going to bring in 4 Nature's Claims to answer those cards, and Indy Dark Blast that he has living in the sideboard.
Yep, definitely. Turn 1 Noble Hierarch. That feels all right from the Infect side.
Trademark, sir.
Yep. Then pass.
Shawn's on the fetch land version of Dredge. I like that a lot more than the Rainbow Land version.
I agree. I played the Rainbow Land version. You might have remembered I played it on stream about 2 months ago, something like that. Yeah, and I definitely think the fetch land version is better. Be able to dodge Anger of the Gods by instant speed. Getting landfall triggers, pretty relevant. Key things to remember is that Bloodghast is a May trigger. Prize Amalgam is not. So you usually want to set up your Prize Amalgam or Bloodghast to come in on your opponent's turn if you can. Especially to play around those Anger of the Gods.
Uh-oh. Are we going on natural?
Oh, I'm getting there with the beats.
Hiya!
Getting you for 2, and then you're going to fetch. So the question is here, and I know you've done the math before on stream, how many cards do you think that Shawn's going to dredge with this Cathartic Reunion on his next turn?
So the average comes out to
12.
It's
right?
12. Yeah. The average is 12 and a half or something. So, but if he hits 3 trolls, it's 18.
Yeah.
I know he's got a troll in hand, and I'll and one troll can find more trolls. So let's see if he hits all 18.
Exactly. It's always fun to play the how many cards am I going to dredge number. So he discards a droll and a stinkweed.
So that's 11 right there, even if he hits no other dredgers.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he's going to be able to dredge for 12.
Yep.
So he's a minimum 17 now.
Yeah. It might be 17.
2,
it might be 18.
3, 4, 5, and 6. It's going to be 17.
So we're going to see an Archamoeba eventually trigger once this Cathartic Reunion is done resolving.
Yeah.
The card technically triggers while you're resolving Cathartic Reunion, but it can't go onto the stack until we're done.
So you got 2 Narcomoebas. It looks like only 1 prized amalgam, maybe 2.
Yeah. Shawn is clumping his
that is an
together.
ideal turn, if I would say so. I'm just going to put a third of my library into my graveyard and get 5 power on board.
8 power or 5?
5. 3.
Oh,
3,
just
2.
the one.
Yeah, just the one prize amount, it looks like.
I did see a Scourge Devil in that dredge, so that can crank up the clock. So the Narcomoebas are actually very important in this matchup. They can block Inkmoth Nexus or Ghost and Rose. They're like free rolls for blocks.
Yeah.
The other thing is Stinkweed. If Shawn has a Black Source in his hand, he will dredge and cast it because it will be another color if Dave is playing the card Apostle's Blessing.
That makes
and
sense.
He doesn't really have anything else to do. He might fire off a Conflagrate.
Yeah, and Dave is desperate here to find either an Apostle's Blessing or a not Slip Through Space. I'm trying to think of the other card. Distortion Strike. To try to get unblockable because these Narcomoebas will just play havoc on chumping for days on end.
Dave's best draws here are Blighted Agent, Distortion Strike, and Apostle's Blessing if he has it.
Yeah. Playing a Glistener Elf, not exactly what you want. Yeah, so his hand is Dryad Arbor, Become Immense. So if he, in theory, could get a way to get through, he can lethal in a single swing.
True.
So that is also relevant.
Shawn's going to... He does have a Black Source, so he's going to dredge this imp, and I suspect that he's going to cast it. If he dredges Conflagrate here, I might Conflagrate the 3 creatures on the board.
Definitely. I definitely would as well. You have to be able to get rid of these Noble Hierarchs because they're offering free pumps to the creatures on board.
Every dredge player is different. Shawn's doing this thing where he's got 2 graveyards. He's got a graveyard of relevant things and a graveyard of irrelevant things.
Yeah, I tried that as well. I ended up not liking it. It cluttered up my board too much. He's also being nice to his opponent and showing the cards he's dredged that are in his hand.
Yeah, those 2 Gold Grave Trolls and 2 Stinkweed Imps are actually in Shawn Tabrizi's hand. He's dredged them, but he's leaving them face up so that his opponent will see them.
Yeah, it's always interesting. Yeah, every dredge player has their own formatting for how they format their board and their hand and their library and their graveyard. It's very interesting to see. I always like to put my graveyard in front. So
yes.
The opponent has no questions. They can just sit there and look at it.
Here you go. It's all yours. Take a look.
Then
I'm in the same boat.
Yeah. Then put my board state behind it, my land's behind that, and then I keep everything in my hand.
Shawn's elected to just go dredge crazy here with a flashback on a Faithless Swing. I think it's probably okay. You're only dead to a very small subset of cards. Dave's got a 3-card hand and a draw step.
Yeah.
So I think this is okay, and he did just hit another free blocker too.
Yeah, I think he also just kind of acknowledges that he's dead right now to making these Infect creatures unblockable,
sure.
Most likely. So he's just trying to dig for that, like the Conflagrate out, which he'll be able to do on his next turn.
So the Scourge Devil makes Shawn's board lethal as long as...
Go ahead and pull that card up here for you guys, for those who are not familiar with dredge cards, because guess what? They don't really play normal Magic, so people don't really know what they do.
If only one Narcomoeba dies this turn and Dave doesn't play another blocker... Oh, he's got a Dryad Arbor. Okay. Oops. Never mind. I went down a line of logic, but it relied on Dave not playing a blocker. He's going to have a blocker given that the Dryad Arbor's in his hand.
And I just closed our Pythian script, I think.
Oh. I have no idea what it's called. I'll go get Frank.
We'll get Frank to see if he can unscrew up what I just did.
Yeah, sorry about that. So the card's stuck on the screen for now, but just ignore it. Dave attacks, announces both Exalted triggers. He can still Pendlehaven in response to the Exalted trigger since he announced it.
You kids and your newfangled devices.
Yeah, we're breaking it on purpose. We just wanted you in the booth here with us.
It's fine.
But I think Shawn's just going to throw one guy under the bus.
So I really like this Scourge Devil in the list, being it's another creature for things like Knot of the Bone and just a myriad of other things that require creatures in your yard rather than Rally the Ancestors or Rally the Peasants.
Rally the Peasants, yeah. Yeah, well, it turns on Amalgams by itself.
Definitely. And it also gets haste and is another creature that comes up and is big. Yeah, seems real good.
Shawn did not go for Scourge Devil here. I guess it's because Dave has 4 blockers potentially. That makes sense. I do think he should either Conflagrate or play the Stinkweed Dam. Oh, Conflagrate.
Yep.
Wasn't sure if there was a block or not. Interesting that Dave chose not to block, given that there were multiple Conflagrates on them.
Yeah, I think he just knew he was kind of dead.
Well, his hand was not very exciting. It was definitely.
No.
It was just.
That's the other thing I like about the
it was
Dredge
land
deck.
and +6/+6.
Yeah, that's the other thing I like about the Dredge deck is even if you're not actually technically interacting with your opponent, those Archimedes did so much work just sitting back and going, you can't swing in.
Yeah, I've actually found this matchup favorable for Dredge. I've played it a lot myself. I've got close to 200 matches with Dredge. I've faced Infect many times in that, and I found it to be very favorable. Of course, I play a lot of Dark Blast.
Agreed. I did the same thing as well when I was playing Dredge, and I play tested a lot of Infect, and it felt almost like an auto win. Again, they don't really put out anything to block your creatures.
Right.
Your nut draws beat their nut draws for the most part. Yeah.
There's always the face roll draw. Mm-hmm. There's always Infects like there's a turn 2 kill. There's a turn 3 kill with a Grafdigger's Cage. Like those draws, you will lose to.
Yeah.
But if your dredges are average, I feel favored.
Definitely.
If they're below average, you're never going to win any. You're never going to win a game. Right?
No. Yeah. If
because you're just doing nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. If you're not so if you want to play Dredge, and you put it together and you find out that you're dredging really terribly and it's just you and just your luck, you should probably not play Dredge.
No.
If you find yourself dredging amazing nonsense all the time, you should play Dredge a lot.
Shawn's doing the thing where he's cutting like one of every card.
Yeah. So the weird thing with playing Dredge is sideboarding. Because every card in the deck essentially does the same thing for the most part. There are some good cards, some bad cards. But yeah, a lot of it's shaving or adding cards. I was notorious for going up like an extra card or two sometimes and overboarding just because you're like, why mess up the engine? Let's add just new things in.
I've got a 61 on the draw a couple times, but that's typically against matches where I know it's going to go a little bit longer. You never board out the cantrips.
No, yeah.
Because they will find you your sideboard cards. This is a deck that loses to Hosers, it loses to Rest in Peace, Line of the Void, etc. Grafdigger's Cage. You have to fire off either an Ancient Grudge or a Nature's Claim or whatever you've brought in. And the beauty of this deck, and the reason I like it so much, is that in theory you lose to these sideboard cards, but in reality you've got 12 spells in your deck that cantrip for you, that dig 2 or 3 deep. Faithless Looting digs 2 deep, Cathartic Reunion digs 3 deep. So you can keep hands that don't beat a Rest in Peace, and then you can still beat a Rest in Peace because those cards will find you the Nature's Claim.
Definitely. And again, it's Cathartic Reunion did a lot to help shore up that. Before it was much weaker to those sideboard hate cards because you couldn't dig as deep. And then
I was not 100% on board with this deck until Kaladesh.
Yeah.
Until Cathartic Reunion.
Definitely. I ended up selling out of it at its peak of cost because I wanted to, and then I ended up jumping into Titan Shift just because I like to have a deck that my opponent either answers or just loses.
Dredge does that too.
Yeah, Dredge does that as well. But
it's different.
Yeah, folks are packing less sideboard hate for things like Skype Shift than they are for Dredge right now.
That's true.
Dredge is the big, and that's one thing I would like to say is people are very much on, Dredge should be banned. It doesn't put up a lot of good results right now because people are actively hating against it, and they are sometimes putting so much hate in their sideboard that they'll lose other matches.
Yeah.
But they're willing to do that if they can beat the Dredge deck.
I'm going to politely disagree. It had Milquetoast results at Dallas, but in the overall scheme of things, it's got a lot of top 8s. And it is the 6th most successful deck in Modern right now. And that's saying a lot because and that's from April through November.
Yeah.
And it's only existed since August. So it's doing better than a number of decks that like Kiki Core. Like it's got way more top 8s, way more top 32s than Kiki Core does.
Definitely. I think it's also the style and nature of the deck. I mean, there's been Dredge decks around for a while. They were just missing that oomph to push them over. And between Shadows up to Kaladesh, it's got those 3 or 4 pieces now to really push it forward.
People saw potential with Insolent Neonate. Because of the way it's worded, it's discard then draw.
Yeah.
So it's just this one card combo with...
Yeah. And Prized Amalgam it gave it a win con that didn't have before.
Yeah, the early Travis Wu builds were focused on like Vengevine and Lot of Trolls and stuff, and that deck was not very good at all.
No, it was. I played it because it was fun, but it was not. It was not the best. It took too much time to set up.
Right. See a Dark Blast in Shawn's hand.
Yep.
Here it comes.
Yep.
Mutagenic Growth saves it if Dave has one. He does not.
He does not, which is not what you want to be doing if you're.
Well,
Dave.
you know, even if he has one, I'm not sure he fires it there because the Dark Blast is just coming back next turn.
Unfortunately, as a one-lander, it looks like he has no other Infect creatures in his hand.
He mulliganed or double mulliganed. We were talking a lot during the mulligan step there, but Dave.
Looks like he mulliganed to 6. Kept a. Yeah. He drew the Mutagenic Growth for this turn as well, so he didn't have it. And it's a shame.
Shawn boarded in Lightning Axe too.
I agree. I mean, you just the other card that's in his hand here that I like in this matchup is Vengeful Pharaoh.
Yes, because any non-lethal amount of damage is really good for him.
Yeah, we'll pull up that card as well. Again, cards that people aren't.
What's this thing like M11 or M12? I'm not sure what the.
Hold on, I can't spell today. There we go. So Vengeful Pharaoh.
M12.
Yeah. Key things to note: this card is from Mom and Kut. We found this out recently.
Yeah.
From the plane, there is, you can see in the staff, Nicol Bolas's head, horns, and gem thing, whatever that is, and it's an Egyptian style plane. So
yeah, might actually see a reprint.
Might actually see a reprint, or another card like it that the same
He
style.
protects it here, but I don't think that this is going to get him very far because, well, he's got to deal 10 Infect with 1 land, maybe 2, and it goes to Earth.
Yeah.
So he could become immense next turn if he draws. If he draws fetch land, he could exactly become immense, right? No, he cannot. He would have to also have like a Mutagenic Growth or a Gitaxian Pearl.
And this is the problem that Infect does run into as well, is it needs its right balance of lands and spells and creatures. And like we were talking about the Suicide Blue deck earlier, it doesn't really have a lot of cantrips to find its way there.
No.
So,
if it doesn't come together for Infects, you're just kind of stuck with it. It's funny that this is the best deck in Modern, but like it's got some holes. Every deck's got some holes in it. We're just gonna dredge this Dark Blast every turn of the game until the game is over.
Talking to our chat, the Flash Flare. I think if you've played Infect before and you have good experience with it, I think it is definitely a good deck to play at a large event like a GP Vegas.
If you got the reps, just play it.
Just play it. It's like, I think it's hands down the best deck in the format, though. Yeah.
I would recommend playing the 20 land version so that this doesn't happen here.
Yeah. He's gonna Spell Pierce. Let's see if Shawn remembers to pay. He opts not to pay for the lethal. I don't.
So the Conflagrate should be exiled, but the game is over next turn.
Yeah. He had the 2-mana open also to pay for the Spell Pierce. And he opted not to, opted to Dark Blast instead.
Yeah, I'll just Dark Blast your...
Rub salt on the moon. I want to kill you with Prize Amalgams.
30 minutes left.
Well, welcome to Modern. 31 minutes left in the round, and
let's bring it back to
finished.
this.
So let's come back to the booth.
Let's talk about Team Modern. Actually, I'm going to go talk to Frank. Why don't you talk about that match we just had?
Yeah, okay. All right, so that was Infect versus Dredge. From my experience, that's kind of how that matchup tends to go. Usually, Infect doesn't have as bad of a draw, but like we saw, Infect usually has to kill you in a single swing, and you quickly, or you just win. You have too many cards that do too good of things against them, between Dark Blast and Lightning Axe and
Conflagrate.
And all
Dark
those
Beetle
things.
blockers, stinkweed blockers.
Yeah, it's too good.
Yeah, I don't know my exact record, but I feel like it's probably like 80% or something.
Yeah, it was pretty high for me as well. Like,
interesting note about those two decks is that at the Magic World Cup that happened just a couple weeks back, that was Team Unified Modern. Hi, table 7. Can you put in table 7 while I?
Yeah, go ahead and brief us here on Team Unified Modern. Fun event.
Both of those decks were very popular for Team Unified Modern because they don't have a lot of overlap with other decks. With Unified Modern, your deck construction rules change so that people on your team, only one person can play a card, a non-basic land card.
Yeah.
So, Dredge is a bunch of nonsense. Prized Amalgams and Golgari Grave Trolls only go into the Dredge deck. So by having a Dredge person on your team, you are able to basically play whatever else you want in the other 2 slots. It does share some lands, but it doesn't really care which red fetch lands that you use, and you could play the Rainbow Land version if you wanted to save all of your fetch lands for other people.
And that sort of makes sense. From at least discussing with our competitive play group, typically we're looking at usually a Lightning Bolt deck, a Noble Hierarch deck, and then I'll call a Strange deck. So it'll be the Strange decks are your decks that involve nothing else that anybody else does, like Dredge Dredge, Tron, Affinity, things like that don't share any cards with any other deck. But
right.
Yep. So you tend to have 3. The combination of 3 things, and that should be pretty common. It looks like from what top 8 table, top 8 teams. That's kind of what we were dealing with.
Yeah, the first place list played Dredge, Infect, and Junk.
Yep.
So